Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Reverse Sweep Show. As ever, SS and AB are there for you with another episode. How's it going, AB?
Still reeling from the last test match between India and England. What an amazing test match that was, and again reminds me why we love the sport so much. But yeah, then again, after that high, there has been that trough of no cricket. I mean, there has been cricket, but no Indian cricket in between. So, waiting for the next test match. How about you, SS?
Yeah, we were discussing off air that we could have been 3-0 up, but this is the beauty of Test cricket. This is the beauty of sports, that things you're dominating for 13 days and then a couple of sessions here and there, and then you can lose. So now looking forward, if Bumrah plays the fourth Test match, what will happen to Jireel and Rishabh? But yeah, I still think there's a lot to see in this series, and I think it will be quite interesting. Otherwise, I've been enjoying some football. Went to watch Manchester United play a preseason game yesterday. It was an awful game to watch, but as a fan of the club, I really enjoyed watching them in person. And as you can see from my shirt as well, it's linen is out. The summer is truly here, the place where I live. So I'm trying to enjoy as much as I can before the long dark winters come in. But today we are going to do another episode in our continuing series on dynasties. We talked about the true dynasties of cricket across formats. We looked at the nearly dynasties as well as anti-dynasties, including a hypothetical 11 on the players who always were the kryptonite of the top teams. Today we are going to look at the golden generation. And I think, AB, it will be best for us to describe to our listeners and viewers how do we define golden generation and how should we go about this in this episode?
Quick timeout. If you are loving this dive into cricket's wild twists and turns, hit that like button and subscribe to the Reverse Sweep Show.
And if you've got that one friend who can't stop talking about cricket, share this episode with them and bring them into the squad.
Yeah, the entire theme of this season has been around dynasties. We spoke about the absolute dynasties like West Indian cricket team from the 80s, then the Australian team from the 2000s. Then we also spoke about a few mini dynasties like the South African Test team, the Ko Shastri era team. But then if we go down one tier below, there are these teams which had amazing players but which were also like a golden generation for their own teams. But they were never able to achieve that pinnacle of success that these other teams had achieved. They were always missing out on those key moments. And for some reasons, they had their peak and then they went out, but never achieved what everyone else was able to achieve. So these are the kind of teams that we are going to talk about today. Now, how we are going to approach this, each of us, both SS and me, have two picks each. We alternate. We start off from SS's pick, and then we discuss four teams in total, and then we go into our favorite section of the pod, which is around some what ifs. So SS, let's not wait. Let's start off with your pick. Who have you got?
Yeah, it's a pick that we have mentioned sometimes in passing and sometimes in little detail, depending on the episode. The great Pakistani team of mid to late 80s and early 90s, commanded by the great Imran Khan. They became world number one for a short interval of time in Test cricket when they drew the series in West Indies by winning a Test match. They won the World Cup, of course, in '92, the Cornwall Tigers, under Imran Khan's captaincy after he returned from retirement on the request of the Prime Minister Ziaul Haq after the '87 World Cup. But that team wasn't just about Imran Khan, even though he was the biggest star, the most successful, and the most consistent player. But his team had really, really strong ingredients. You had amazing batters, Javed Mianda, then of course, who can forget about the six in the Australasia Cup in Sharjah of the bowling of, was it Chetan Chauhan, I think?
Chetan Chauhan. Are you still confused between
Chetan Sharma and Chetan Chauhan. Yeah, and also like really good batters apart from him, Ramiz Raja, you also had Inzamam in the latter part, and then Wasim and Waqar were there. Abdul Qadir, who made my Kryptonite 11, and some utility players as well. I think reverse swing is something that got really part of the vogue of international cricket because of the genius of Pakistan. I think Sarfaraz Nawaz, it's alleged that he invented the art and then passed it on to Imran Khan. Imran Khan perfected it, passed it on to Wasim and Waqar. And that was like the lethal weapon, the secret weapon of Pakistan, the secret sauce to achieve a lot of success in Asian conditions. even though they make placid wickets, a lot of runs being scored, spinners in the fray. But they would win a lot of series in Asia. They won a test series in India as well. And even though India had a strong team in mid to late 80s as well, but they could never, win versus Pakistan, even in bilaterals. And that was a swing moment as well when Pakistan started dominating over India for a good 10-15 year period, both in test matches and a lot of ODI cricket in Sharjah. They reached the semi-finals of the 87 World Cup, and everyone was expecting India versus Pakistan final, but it became like an Australia-England final. But then they won the 92 after being completely dominated
Down
in
and
the
out.
first. Yeah, exactly. But that team had great bowling attack powered by reverse swing, utility spinners, really good, strong batters who made runs all over the world, especially in Asian conditions. And that was a golden generation that led to a lot of success for the Pakistan team in the 90s as well. They were really strong in ODI cricket, always among the top 3-4 nations in both 96 and 99 World Cups, especially 99 World Cups after they had defeated Australia in the group stages and South Africa had been knocked out. Everyone had like Pakistan with that bowling attack could really win the World Cup. They came up short in the final, but they were a really strong team. So you could argue that the golden generation ran through the 90s as well. But it was the late 80s one, which was really strong. And of course, it's just heightened by the mercurial captaincy and the legend that's Imran Khan. We talked in the last episode. He was averaging in his 50s with the bat after the age of 34, 35, and less than 20 with the ball. I mean, that's amazing achievement and
Insane.
insane. And a lot of really good cricketers as well. So my first pick would be the Pakistan golden generation of late 80s. Good 7 to 10 years of success in an international arena.
I absolutely love your pick, SS, and I know your fondness for this team. You have brought up occasions from this team
Anytime
multiple
that I
times on
can,
this spot.
anytime that I
Yeah,
can bring them on.
yeah. Whether it be the Mount Rushmore series or the full length episodes, I see you draw a lot of content out from that team. And rightfully so. I mean, I remember Sachin in his debut match, walking up to
Yeah.
Vakarionis and facing that bouncer. They were always such a deadly bowling attack. I remember seeing those in swinging toe crushers from both Wasim Akram, Vakarionis to batters. And I feel one of the reasons why Pakistan, you say it was a golden generation, was also because Pakistan, the biggest weakness for them is stability, is leadership. That is one point which they have always lacked. Imran Khan, with all his aura, all his personality, was able to bridge that gap for the team,
Yeah.
and hence I feel they were able to do what they were able to do.
I think you used the word stability, which makes me remember a quote I read about Pakistan cricket from a foreign journalist that if Pakistan cricket had 20% of stability, then they would have dominated cricket 80% of times. So using the 80-20 principle in context to stability in Pakistan cricket. Now, also amongst utility players, Salim Malik, Ijaz Ahmed, I mean, there's really good cricketers in their own rights. Lots to like about that great Pakistan team. But that was my first pick. AB, what's your first one?
Yeah, so for my first pick, we stay in the subcontinent and I go back in time, not by a lot, maybe around just 20 years back,
It's a
20
lot of time
to
to go
30
back.
years. Yeah, but then we go down south to our neighbors, the Lankan Lions. They had a really good run in international cricket right from the mid 90s to say the mid 2010s. They were underdogs before that. Somehow, under Rana Tunga's captaincy, they were able to lift the World Cup in '96. But then they were the underdogs. I believe their peak came under Jayawardena. That is, even after the Jayasuriya Attapattu era, like around the mid 2000s, when the team was led by Jayawardena and Sangakkara had come in. They had a really good crop of players at that point of time. They had Malinga who was coming in, they had Angelo Matthews. So they were a really formidable team and they were so strong that they were consistently making it to the final of ICC tournaments. And the only reason why we say they are a golden generation and not a dynasty is because they failed every time. 2007, they made it to the finals, lost against Australia, came against Gilchrist and the ball in his arm.
Yeah, the squash ball.
Squash ball, yeah. 2011, they lost to an inspired Indian team under the captaincy of Dhoni. Then, between that, they also had a couple of really good runs in T20 World Cup.
They lost the final
2009, they lost
to
Pakistan.
Pakistan,
And 2012, I think they lost the final to West
West
Indies, if I'm
Indies.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only redemption that they had for all their greatness, for all the amazing runs that Jayawardena scored, that Sangakkara scored, all the amazing wickets that Murli took was in 2014 when they finally won an ICC tournament after so many defeats, after so many heartbreaks.
Because as Indian cricket fans, we don't like to say that they shared an ICC trophy with us back in the day in Champions Trophy, so that's not counted.
That's not counted. Yeah, but this is what like one thing which worked out for them, which a lot of teams miss out on, is a smooth transition from the
Yeah.
times of say Ranatunga De Silva to Jayasuriya Attappa to Jayawardena Sangakkara. Then the other point which really worked out well for them was the amazing crop of players that they kept having, which I feel is a bit coincidental, and Sri Lankan cricket got lucky with that. Like, you have to say, someone like a Murli Dharan is a once in a generation kind of a player. Someone like Jashire is a once in a generation kind of a player. Sangakkara is a once in a generation kind of a player. Same goes for Jayawardene, same goes for Malinga, same goes for Vas as well. So they had so many once in a generation kind of players who somehow came together at the same point of time. And that is the reason why they were able to dominate world cricket for that period of. They also had Tilak Ratne and Dilshan, who changed how the opening openers would take on the power play. Brought in all that innovation with the Dil scoop and all. Malinga, again, a very unorthodox bowler. People didn't know how to play him.
I mean,
Then they also had
Rangana Herath as well, even though it
Rangana
was on a
Herath.
test arena, but he was like really successful.
And even Ajanta Mendes, for however short his stint was, he was
Amazing.
absolutely unplayable for those matches.
Yeah.
So Sri Lanka, I feel they were fueled by individual brilliances, some amazing players coming in, a lot of unorthodox players, a lot of innovation that came in. Plus, they also had a good period of stability at the leadership level. So that is what was their greatness about, and that is also something which was their undoing.
Yeah.
Once all these players went away, Sangakkara, Jayawardene, they stopped having all these amazing players who kept coming up, which I
Yeah.
feel was honestly a stroke of luck for a country size of Sri Lanka. And then instabilities, problems with the board, economic issues, I think all of those have led to where Sri Lanka is right now. And
Yeah. And I think this would be a recurring theme. A lot of, I mean, we have 4 picks to make. We've already made 2, but instability at board level, at management level, at grassroots cricket level, because of lack of impetus from financial side, but also from board side, will be a constant theme of why these golden generations did not sustain for an even longer time or became a dynasty. We can say both for Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And I would like to contrast with New Zealand, for example. New Zealand actually has had a very successful last 10, 15 years. And the first latter part of Daniel Vittori, followed by Brendan McCullum, then Kane Williamson. Great crop of cricketers coming in, doing good in all formats, reaching the final stages of ICC events, winning an ICC Test Championship as well. But you feel more comfortable with the idea more and more with New Zealand, because even though pretty much in terms of size of the cricket economy, they are pretty much like Sri Lanka, but because of more system processes in place and having the best world-class facilities being in picture, you will always bet less on Sri Lanka and more on New Zealand to have sustained success. I mean, there was a period of Dav Watmore, Bayliss, and Tom Moody in which you spoke about stability at management level. There was that, but now that is also going away. You have now Jayasuriya doing wonders with the team. But how many players of Sri Lanka are playing in IPL now? That's a barometer of how much cricketers are good at skill level, which you mentioned about. That had a golden generation aspect to it. You had really good, skillful players at an individual level, which is not happening now. And while New Zealand is more like at a team level, systems level, they're always going to good, even if individually they are not the most skillful.
totally agree with you there, SS. I feel, and we have spoken about it at length, New Zealand is a percentages team. You always bet on them to produce players within that caliber range. They might get lucky with a Richard Headley every once in 30, 40 years, but then they don't need someone like a Richard Headley to take them to the knockout stages of an ICC tournament because they have such a strong structure and process in place. Contrast to that, the Sri Lankan team, they were fueled by superstars. They were fueled by, as I said earlier, once in a generation players, the entire lineup being full of them. And you can't expect them to produce those kind of players so frequently. So I think definitely you'd bet more on New Zealand to sustain their excellence for a much longer time than the Sri Lankan team. But having said that, I do miss the subcontinental rivalries in the
All the
cricketing world
bilateral
these days.
series.
All the bilateral series, Kohli smashing Malinga for all those runs.
Yeah.
I do miss that, and hopefully we get more of that in the coming future. But with that said, going to our third pick of today, says which team
Yeah.
are you going to talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to switch formats, go to our favorite T20s, and I'm going to pick a team that brought the revolution before England brought the white ball revolution, which is I can say now the great West Indies team, they also won the same number of World Cups than the old dynasty teams of West Indies did in ODI cricket. They won the World Cup 2012 in T20 and 2016 again. And they changed the game on how we look at T20 cricket. Think about batting in T20 cricket, skills in T20 cricket, and England took it a step further in ODI, and now everyone is following the same template in IPL and international cricket. Stanford brought in by the American millionaire, billionaire Alan Stanford. 3 years of that competition gave a lot of encouragement and fillip to the young West Indies cricketers on how they think about T20 cricket. Gave a lot of island and the island boards, 19 of them who played in this competition with a lot of finances and visibility on what is a promise that T20 cricket has. And that's when the entire this mercenary franchise attitude came in West Indies cricketers that they can actually build a livelihood out by playing T20 cricket around the world. And that led to a cricketing success in a way that developed a lot of skill level, and it played with the entire cultural thing as well and how they carry about as well, that you can play dot balls, but if you have six hitting ability, you can pretty much match that. And what better game to testify this than the 16 T20 World Cup semi-final versus India? Everyone was expecting India to win after they scored 180, 190 at Wankhede. Rendell Simmons, who used to play for MI, wasn't part of the team, came in 2 days ago and smashed 82 in the semi-finals. They played 48 dot balls versus India's 26. They made 142 runs off fours and sixes. Chris Gale, how often would we see him in IPL blocking, 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 blocking? Then he would start hitting fours and sixes and he'll end up like a 50 ball 100. So many players like that. Pollard, Gale, the Bravo brothers, Narayan, Russell, Badri, Marlon Samuels, twice the man of the match in World Cup finals, and who can forget, remember the name Carlos Brathwaite. I mean, they changed the game into this entire thing that we can make big runs, and then we have skillful bowlers who are able to be a bit different. Narayan and Badri being the biggest examples, and all-rounders like Bravo and Russell. They would bat till number 9, number 10, and essentially give us the blueprint of how white ball cricket is now played. And they were like the OGs around it. Of course, inspired by Darren Sammy and his leadership as well. He wasn't even the best player in the team, but he would still be there because of his Clive Lloyd-esque way of integrating the team. And I think that team was exceptional in a way, and I think we don't give them enough credit, which we should be giving them. Despite all the board troubles, economy troubles, they still went on to do wonders in T20I game, and now West Indies has 4 World Cups and 2 provided by this generation, who we often say aren't that great of cricketers.
That's a nice pick, SS. I definitely like your point that you made around the six hitting ability and how they change the maths of chasing. How they in fact chase the maths of cricket in
Yeah,
general. Like now, if you have to chase around 40 runs of say 20 balls, the calculation isn't like you need to score 2 runs of every ball. The calculation is like you need four sixes
yeah.
and two boundaries here and there. So that's just six balls that you need to go right your way. Yeah, but then I have a question for you, SS, over there. West Indian players, for all their greatness, for all their impact across the leagues, like all over the world, why didn't West Indian team have that sustained success, and why didn't that success translate to other formats? Why was it just limited to that T20I format?
I think it's the prioritization and the money that they were getting by playing all of franchise league. I was reading that West Indies cricketers can pick up as much as $1 million around playing T20 cricket in a year, and that leads to think that if the contract is not suitable for them to play for their national team, especially in ODI format, what's the point? I mean, if they can earn livelihood, there's nothing for them. And the best players are never available in now, not even in T20Is, but never in ODIs even back then. And I also felt that they did not play with the same rigor and vigor how they used to play T20I and did not transfer that to the ODI cricket. I think they were still a bit stuck. So that was like a failure on ground, which England has tried changing, and then now India has started changing that you play approach ODI like a 220-20I game, which I think West Indies were trying to do it, but not so successfully. And I also don't think that their bowling was quite suitable for ODI cricket as well. I think, but the major thing is that board disputes led to the best players not being available in ODI format, because if they were available, I think they had the capabilities of becoming a top six side in ODI cricket. And of course, the problem got even more exaggerated when you think about Test cricket. They did no interest in playing, and the administration did not create, I think, benefits for them to play. So
Yeah, and almost feels a bit. I mean, we are at a point where we are going to see the end of Andre Russell in the West Indian jersey. So
yeah,
almost feels like the end of that era. And we also see that 27 all out that they had against Australia. So
Yeah.
yeah, very, very recent examples that we see
And
from
they have
there.
not been qualifying for World Cups here and there as well, and now really struggling. But I mean, they still have. There are a lot of cricketers that still continue to play IPL also. And I was talking about barometer of success. They still have more successful cricketers than Sri Lanka, for example. But I think it's just the board issues that create a lot of problem, and Big Three can do a lot of job around it. But yeah, that was my pick. Second pick. Which one is your second pick then for the golden generation?
So we go up north towards Europe. The United Kingdoms, specifically England, is what we want to talk about. England had their golden generation somewhere towards the late 2000s and early 2010s. This was under Andrew Strauss. But let's first talk about where they were coming in from. So from the start of 2000s, England was an average test team, an average red ball team. They were very, very inconsistent. They would lose a lot of series, win a few matches here and there, but they had their golden moment in 2005, the Ashes series that we love to talk about on this pod, one of the best Ashes series ever. But even after that, they had a dip.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the late 2000s that they really found their mojo in Test cricket. This was when Andrew Strauss took over captaincy. We had Trevor Bayliss, if I'm not wrong. Oh, sorry, Andy Flower, right?
Andy Flower, yeah.
Andy Flower, yeah, Andy Flower, who was the coach of the team. Under this leadership is where they actually found their real footing in Test cricket. They had a really strong core. They had Cook, who was a run machine, along with Andrew Strauss. They had Jonathan Trott, who had a very good 2-3 year period. They had Kevin Peterson, as you put, as was a modern day genius. Then you had really strong bowling attack. You had Jimmy Anderson. You had Stuart Broad, two of the best pace bowlers in this particular format in this generation and probably across generations as well. And then England also had something which they have never had before: two world class spinners. World class, or at least effective. I mean, they were plenty effective. So they had Graham Swan, they had Monty Panesar. In fact, I remember one test match, and we'll also talk about this series when England visited India and defeated India in India. There was a match at Eden Gardens. I happened to be there on that particular day. I think it was day one of that test match when Sachin scored a 70 odd, Yuvraj hit a six. I
Yeah.
remember that very clearly. Along with that, what I remember is Jimmy Anderson bowling from one end, which was a sight to watch, and then Monty Panesar bowling the full day from the other end. He was an absolute workhorse, but very effective.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
And also they had like very good effective utility players. I think Ian Bell and Paul Collingwood, really good batters in their own right, especially Ian Bell in Test cricket, very classical. I think his cover drives are still quite remembered a lot. And at the third pacer as well, I think you had Bresnan and Tremblett, two different kind of bowlers, but very effective as well. I mean, it's a testament to that team that they won a series down under. I mean, winning an Ashes down under for any English team is like a folklore stuff, which they did. And they won all the three test matches down under with an innings. And then they won a test series in
series in
subcontinent
India.
in India after being 1-0 down. And both series, I mean, Cook was fabulous.
Yeah, against Australia, Cook had 760 odd runs,
Crazy.
one double century, multiple centuries. And as you said, they won by an innings every time. I think it was 3-1. The entire scorecard read 3-1 in the
Yeah.
five test series. So an amazing performance for an English team. And just to tell everyone how rare it was for them to win a series against Australia, and leave alone winning in Australia. They won an Ashes around late 80s, I think 87. Then the next Ashes that they won was in 2005. So
Correct.
that is how rare it was for these crop of players as they were growing to see an English side win an Ashes against Australia, leave alone winning in Australia.
Yeah.
So it was a monumental feat for them when they finally won that Ashes in Australia. And that came at the back of some amazing performances by all these players. Then again, when they came to India, they had Alistair Cook as the man of the series, scoring 560 odd runs, double century, another century here and there. And then KP also scoring a double century, I remember.
Who can forget the Mumbai knock that he did? I mean, that was amazing. And it was it the period where Flintoff was fittest all the time, but still they were able to be like the number one team. They became the number one team, I think, around that time as well.
Yeah, they did. But then again, with every team that we are speaking about, they have had those peaks, but then those troughs came very soon after. And that is the reason why they never made it to the dynasties that we spoke of. In their case, they had a whitewash against Australia a couple of years later, 2013-2014 series, 5
The
losing in
Mitchell,
Australia.
the Mitchell Johnson
The
series.
Mitchell Johnson series where he picked up 37 wickets in 5 test matches. And then we also heard so many disturbing news coming in from their own camp, right? Kevin Peterson and the entire scandal against him or
Yeah.
involving him.
The text scandal, as they call it.
The text scandal, as they call it, yeah. But then, yeah, that is around when this English team started getting broken up and they lost their mojo completely. And I feel with English cricket, it's also their curse that one format always comes at the cost of another.
Yeah.
After the 2015 World Cup exit, they started focusing more on the white ball format, which led to the complete debacle of the red ball team. And more recently, after all the success in the white ball format, when they started looking at red ball format, their white ball team completely went down.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was, I think, quite a relevant pick. I think that English team is again one of the underrated. I think that's a constant theme with Golden Generation. People forget how good they were. But now coming to our favorite section, as we say, if you had to look at the current crop of players in their national teams, which team do you think is going through a phase of Golden Generation or has a potential to be classified as a Golden Generation?
I think I very clearly know who my pick is, and it has to be the current Australian team. For all their genius, for all their amazing players, they have not been able to reach the heights that Steve Waugh or Ricky Ponting's Australian team was able to reach. I mean, if you just look at their current bowling attack in red ball format, they have five of the top 10 bowlers in the lineup right now. Scotty Boland, who is their replacement bowler, is the number six ranked test bowler with an average of 16 in
Crazy.
14 matches, and he has played across the world now. So that has probably got to be the best bowling attack going around in the world right now. I mean, the quartet of Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark, Josh Hazelwood, Nathan Lyon, with Scotty Boland coming in as and when required. That's insane. Then you have one of the best test batters of modern generations, Steve Smith. Had David Warner, who just retired a couple of years back. This particular Australian test team is a really formidable one, and I think they are just nearing their end of that golden generation. They won a WTC but could not do a two-peat. They won a World Cup but could not repeat that again. T20I, that one. So I think that is my pick. What about you, SS? Who's your pick?
Yeah, I think before I give my pick, just a crazy thought that came to my mind. I mean, Australian cricket has been so successful that even if we classify this team as a golden generation, it might not even be their top three team of all time. It's crazy almost on the success that they have had. But for my pick, I go to the opposite end of the spectrum. I think the Afghanistan team is going through a golden generation. I mean, think about the rise and the rise and the rise that they have had from nowhere. Within 10 years, they're competing in semi-finals of ICC events. I mean, that's the fastest rise, and we documented this in season one of the time that has taken for any team to become really competitive at the top echelons of world cricket. They are like the fastest. So I think this generation, I don't know how long it will last. Hopefully, systemic issues will not stop or hinder their growth. But for the next 5-10 years, I still think Afghanistan team will still be strong, and I still bank on it. They will win a Champions Trophy very soon.
Amazing pick, SS. And I think we did a forecast on when will Afghanistan win their first ICC tournament.
Yeah.
You predicted around 2030, 2035.
Yeah, I think they can do it. I think amount of the events that happen in Champions Trophy, people start sending their A minus or B team in good pitches and good conditions that suit them. They can do really well. Okay, so there you have it, guys. So this was an episode of the Golden Generations and what we think are the teams that had their Golden Generations or which ones can in the future. We will continue to publish these long form episodes, but do check us out on Instagram and YouTube where we publish short form content as well, reels and shorts, and there's some exciting collaboration videos hopefully also coming to your ways very soon. So do watch us. We publish blog articles on our website as well, thereversweepshow.com. Check them out as well, and do spread the word if you like our videos and share it with your friends.